Hey, everybody. I am Stephanie Goss, and this is another episode of the Uncharted Podcast. This week on the podcast, it's New Year's Day, so Andy and I are doing something just a little bit different. We decided we wanted to ask each other, hey, if we were you, if we were ourselves as leaders sitting down on New Year's Day or your first day back in the clinic after the holidays, and there was one thing that we could do to start the year off right, what would we do? Andy and I, per usual, have a little bit different takes on this one, but our thoughts really ran parallel and we were in each other's brains as we are so often. And I really had a great time talking through this, and I hope that you enjoy the conversation. Let's get into it.
And now, the Uncharted Podcast.
And we are back. It's me, Dr. Andy Roark, and the one and only Stephanie. Here I go again on my own Goss. I feel like
Hi, Andy Roark.
That's not the most. It's not the most optimistic song for starting the year, but it's kind of like
it.
Here we go again.
I like it.
It was a blink of an eye. It was 2024, and like I was wide-eyed and optimistic.
I know.
And then that year was over. Yeah. And now
that ship has sailed.
And we're done with that. And that was in the books. And now
it's 2025.
Do it again. It really does feel like the years speed up as you get older, buddy. Like they are starting to, it's like a train pulling away from the station and the trees are starting to like whoosh by a little bit faster. And I'm going, oh man, hurtling down the tracks here.
And I feel like the end of the year has always felt busy to me, but yes. I would agree with you. I feel like the last few years in particular, and I don't know if it's just the life stage that I'm in or changes in my career and like what we're doing. I don't think so, because I've been talking to our community members and talking to friends who are in the clinic, and I feel like it is this way for everybody, where it just feels like we're trying to cram even more into the end of the year than ever before. And it just is like a sprint the last 6 weeks of the year. And then poof, it's January 1st.
I have two comments on that. So the first one is this. To me, I think that one of the real signs of maturity that someone can have is having a vaguely realistic expectation of how much they're going to be able to get done around the holidays.
Sure.
And like for 20 years, I was shocked every year.
Yeah.
That it
did not get done.
It did not get done. I thought, and I think this is what causes pain, right? Pain comes when you think the holidays are going to be relaxing. And then they're not going to be relaxing. And all that's going to happen is you're going to feel like you're doing them wrong, or people are letting you down. It's like, no, just settle in for, this is going to be crazy. So I was working with Maria Parita, and she's been with us a couple of years now at this point. It's amazing. It's sort of flying by. But we were still sort of talking back at the end of the third quarter. And I said to her, look, we're going to hit Thanksgiving, probably mid-November. And everybody's going to get harder to get in touch with. Like, all the people that we deal with, our vendors, our sponsors, everybody's going to have an out-of-office responder, or every third person's going to have an out-of-office responder. And just everything is going to slow down. Yeah. And boy, it took me 20 years before I really internalized that. And I'm like, yep. I've talked about this before. I have reminders on my calendar in October of, get ready, go ahead and prepare yourself, because it's going to slow down. And then January is going to go off like a rocket. So that's the first thing I would say is it took me a long time to just recognize that the holidays are chaos, and just try to plan appropriately and lower expectations of myself and what I'm going to get done, and just be happy. That's one. Number two is, I think you're probably right, though, about more and more stuff getting crammed into the holidays. And I think that's not uniquely Uncharted. I think everybody wants to wrap stuff up. Everybody wants to get stuff off their desk by the end of the year. Like everybody wants to unload that stuff, and also to be able to say, this was finished and in the books in 2024. So there's a lot of that. But the world is so bonkers now, just as far as the push around the holidays. It started in mid-October. Like it wasn't even Thanksgiving when I was seeing jingle bells and holiday lights, and the Home Depot had massive. They had the Halloween animatronics on one side of the aisle
and the Christmas on the other.
Yes. And I was just like, wow, all of a sudden the holidays are really like the volume is turned up even more. And so it doesn't surprise me that there's just feels like there's more requests for time and attention around holidays than there used to be.
So I am the Grinch. And with the kids, I have a hard rule. It used to be that when the kids were younger, thank you to my mother-in-law, we had the elf on the shelf, and Timmy came to visit. It was awful. And if you were going to be a grandparent out there, for anybody listening, do not ever buy your kids or your in-law kids the elf on the shelf, because it was the worst gift that I have ever gotten in my life.
Because
it's the gift that keeps on giving. Yes,
it's like giving someone
an animal. Yes, it's the
Don't
worst.
give people a responsibility as a gift.
Yes.
Do not give people responsibilities as a gift.
It was awful, but we had it when they were little. And so the day after Thanksgiving, Timmy came and visited, and then Christmas started. And it stressed me out. And so 2 years ago now, the kids got a letter from the North Pole, and Santa sent them a letter because Timmy was doing such a great job, and they were doing such a great job as they got older, taking care of him and having fun with him, that Santa promoted him to be a trainer elf. And so he has to stay at he got the call, and it was amazing. The letter is beautiful. And if anybody wants to know how Santa does that, shoot me an email and I'll be happy to tell you. But Santa sent that letter. And so the first year Timmy went to be a trainer elf. And then the next year we got an update after Thanksgiving about how he was doing. And it has kind of carried us to where we are now. And now I am full on Grinch. And I told them absolutely not the day after Thanksgiving. There is no Christmas in this house until after December 1st. I cannot. There's no Christmas music. My kid is the kid who, like Maria Prita, he would start the holidays in October if you let him. Like, this is he loves it. And so I just have said, you can be in your room and you can listen with headphones on. I do not want to hear jingle bells coming out of your room until after December 1st. I can't handle it. And I am just mean about it. And and you know what? It has been great for my mental health because I can stand about 4 weeks of it. Yeah. And then I am also that parent who on New Year's Day, I'm like, let's take it all down. I'm done.
I tell you, my youngest daughter has decided she's all in on Christmas, and so I think she decorated her room after Halloween because she does like Halloween too. I think
Jackson did too.
But again, it stayed to the room. I am holding the Thanksgiving line. I think Thanksgiving is the most underrated holiday. It's my favorite holiday.
I know you love it.
I do. I love it at like a spiritual level. I really do. I think that having a holiday just to reflect on what we're thankful for and what we're grateful for, I think it's so healthy. I think it's so important. I just think in this world where, everyone is telling you to consume and buy, and this material thing is what you need. Like, I think it's just great to be like, no, we're just going to have other people and we're going to go to the grocery store and that's it. But that's also why Thanksgiving is in danger of getting squashed, is because it's not a good capitalist holiday.
Right.
It's just, there's not a lot of Thanksgiving swag going on. You know what I mean? There's just not a lot of purchasing. And so, buddy, there's a lot of things getting bought for Halloween. There's a lot of candy. There's a lot of animatronics and decorations and movies.
Unless you're one of those fall people that has to stretch out, like, you want to bring it past the Halloween and into the Thanksgiving. That's me. There's like there's the fall. The fall decor lives until December 1st. And then literally the kids came over this weekend yesterday with their dad, because their cousins came for Thanksgiving from Michigan. And Riley went into her brother's room and pulled out the garland and was like, it's December 1st, Mama. We can put this up in the living room now.
Yeah.
I was like, gosh darn it.
My kids have an advent calendar that we put chocolate in. And so the first day is on December 1st. And so, buddy, there's immediate pressure applied to get that thing up.
To get it together.
It's like, we're
Jackson
missing Advent
He's
days.
Like, did you put it up? Yep. He's like, I expect it to be up. So it's crazy. But now we're in 2025 and we are past all of the holiday madness. Yes. And we're getting ready to start the new year. And I think we talked in last week's episode a little bit about the pressure, at least I did, about the pressure that I feel like comes along with New Year's and resolutions and thinking about the new year. And so again, this week, our episode falls on the holiday. And so you and I were talking about what could we do that would be different and special. And I think you came up with a great idea for, the gifts that we can give everybody on New Year's Day. So, what do you got?
Okay, so here's the idea. It's New Year's Day. I thought I would challenge myself and you, Stephanie Goss, to think about if there was one thing that you would encourage people to do or one piece of advice you would give to someone just to start the year off right. What would that one piece of advice be? And I'm thinking about it from a hospital leadership standpoint. So medical director, even medical or team lead, practice manager, like whatever sort of your role is there. How can you get the year started right? And I did not put this constraint on you, but I did for me. I didn't want to be like, do a strategic planning session and get all the white body. I wanted it to kind of be like a headspace type thing, but still actionable, and so anyway, I tried to sort of make it like that. So I've got mine.
That's so funny.
Do you want me to, okay.
I have mine as well. And it's so funny that you said that because that is immediately where my mind jumped to first when you sent me your idea was, what do I do? And I thought back to what did I do as a leader? And that was very much a part of it. Not so much the strategic, but like the actionable. Okay. Just, you always want to start off. It's like anything. You start off with the best of intentions and I want to be organized and I want the whole team to know what our goals are for the year. And so I had a whole process for myself that I actually did in December every year with my team to do that process, to think and really start things off so that we started with a clean slate. Everybody knew where we were going and we broke it down into actionable steps. And so when you said this, that was immediately where my brain jumped to. And then I actually switched gears and started thinking about the leadership journey. And I came up with something as well. So I'm excited to see what you came up with.
All right. So here's what I've got. My number one piece of advice for starting the year is take time now to recenter the purpose and the relationship. And so, so here's the idea.
Okay.
I think throughout our life, just the way the world is made, entropy rules all. Meaning chaos is incremental and everything drifts towards chaos, right? Like it's always, everything is sort of coming apart. Everything is sort of radiating out into the multiverse in a million different ways. You know what I mean? Like this just,
I am nerdy enough that I know what you mean.
Everything in life gets more chaotic. Let me just I don't know. It's just that way. And I think that a lot of times relationships are that way. I mean, I think about relationships I've had in my life with, just good friends, even with family. What happens is, you have this well-defined relationship when you're young, and then you kind of become adults, but your relationship sort of changes, but it doesn't really always get redefined very well. And then it's sort of like, what are we doing? What is this relationship I now have with my father now that I'm 48 and he's 75? Like, what is that?
Right.
Like, what is that? And so that's what I mean as far as things sort of drifting apart. The same thing is true with the clinic, right? We make this beautiful handbook. We make these protocols. We give people evaluations. We onboard them. And over time, like, that stuff just kind of, it gets looser and looser a little bit and pieces kind of flake off and everybody gets busy and we're all sort of covering and trying to do our best. And it all just kind of starts to sort of threadbare as far as how we're connected and what we're doing. And so the big thing for me is if I could give one piece of advice to anybody out there, now is the time to recenter the relationship and recenter the purpose. And what that means to me is this. You can use the new year as an excuse to bring your people together, the people that you oversee, the people that you work with, and you can appreciate them. Maybe you haven't been doing it. Maybe you haven't been sharing appreciation. Maybe you haven't been calling out the things that you see them doing, that you hope that they continue and that matter. Just say, hey, it's the new year. I wanted to do a touch base with you or just do a check-in. Don't call it an evaluation. It's not a review. I'm not advocating for that. But it's just say, hey, I just want to tell you the number one thing, thinking back about the last year, that I really appreciate about you. And you can just say that, and that you go, that sounds cheesy. It's like, I don't think that it really does. I think it's beautiful. And it's just, what a wonderful gift you can give somebody. It doesn't cost anything other than you have to sit down and you have to really think about what you appreciate about them, right? This is a time to do call-outs and to express gratitude. And call-outs are things where they say, you know what? I have noticed that every time an emergency comes in the door, you are the first person to start moving and pulling together what we need. And I noticed that about you. And so, it's something I always think of is that you're someone who takes action. You jump in, you are calm, cool, and collected under pressure. And I just wanted to let you know that that's a strength of yours that I see. And so, I think naming people's greatest strengths is a big one. It's just say, we're here at the end of the year, just thinking back about you. These are the things I appreciate about you. As I look at you and what it's like to work with you, the biggest strengths that I see from you are these things. Or when I think about you, these are the real strengths that pop into my mind. Mm-hmm. And start to put that, and then sort of turn it into a conversation and say, are there strengths that you think that I missed? Are there are there areas where you feel like you've really grown in the last year? What are you proud of? Uh-huh. Just start to get that conversation up and going.
It's so funny that you picked that, and it makes sense. It's, I think, feels supernatural for you because you are a words of affirmation person. Yes. And so it makes sense that you would lean that way. And it's funny to me that you picked that because one of the challenges I used to have for myself as a leader was to start the year. And so when everybody gets everybody gets something at the end of the year. If you give them a handwritten note, you do have team members who will look at it and read the note first. And at the end of the year, a lot of people are just like, did I get a holiday bonus? And that's really where people's heads are at if you hand them an envelope, right? And so my thing was just to thank you for your hard work with the bonuses. And then at the beginning of the year, I would write every member of the team a note because I am not a words of affirmation person. Yeah. And it's really hard for me because I don't like it myself, it's really hard for me to say aloud to my team sometimes those things. And I was really challenged by that. And so I had a note on my calendar, and in the month of January, I would take the time because I love giving gifts and handwritten notes. And so I would challenge myself to sit down and write a card to each member of my team in January with a words of affirmation, but giving myself the time to kind of process and think through it, because especially for those team members that I either didn't have a strong relationship with or maybe had a challenged relationship with, it can be really hard and you don't want to leave anyone out. And so I would really force myself. And it was a really good exercise for me to take the time and sit down and think about, what do I like about this person? Because if you can't find one thing that you appreciate about every member of your team, that probably tells you that you have some people on your team who shouldn't be on your team.
That would be tough. Yeah, it would be hard if you get to a place where you're like, I cannot think of any values that this person exemplifies. You're like, ooh, that's the other conversation. Tough. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, no, I love that you say that too. And let me just stress this. I think I'm putting it forward like this is kind of how I like to do it, or how I would start. You've got to tailor it to the other person, right? It's not a presentation where they sit and then you stand in front of them and do a speech. It really has to be the individual. And some people are going to be sort of uncomfortable in being praised. And so I would pivot the conversation a little bit about tell me what you're excited about. Yeah. I would like to know, like, how do you want to develop in the next year? What's your how do you want to grow in your career? Tell me about that. And I think that those are important things that you can sort of bring up. Again, it's not necessarily just the gushing at someone, but it is starting to understand what do they care about? How do they want to develop? And then what that really does is open up this conversation about recentering the purpose. And again, if somebody really doesn't like the personal praise, or you don't have a lot of it, you can get back into the purpose of, what are you excited about as far as this job? Like, what do you love about your job? What do you love about what are you looking forward to in 2024? Yeah. What gives you meaning? Like, what is a meaningful job for you going forward? Like what are you looking for? What are you looking to get out of this? I just think that that's really important. And so, as things sort of drift apart, as said, we lose that sort of connection of sitting down, looking at people eye to eye, because we're all busy, and sort of saying, hey, this is what you're doing. You're doing some really good things. And I'm curious about what you're enjoying and what you would like to do, where you see yourself for the next year. And how can I help you? Like, how can I help you become the professional that you want to be? What obstacles can I remove for you? What opportunities can I look out for you? You know, just things like that. And I think it can be a really positive. I think that you have some real strategic opportunities here, again, to reframe the purpose and sort of say, well, you know, I want to know what your purpose is, what your meaning is. I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm excited about and kind of what we're trying to do as a team and where I see us kind of going and what I'm looking forward to and what I think we're going to lean into in the coming months. And then, you know, I may also ask you for your help in areas, or I might also say, these are the opportunities that I see for you. Looking at your strengths and where we are, these are the things where I think if you would lean in some development energy here, I think you would get a big bang for your buck. Or I think this would make you more successful. Or given what you're telling me you're excited about, I think that there'll be more opportunities for you in that area if we can work on these couple of skills. And if we work on these skills while we move in that direction, we can really develop this person and they're going to get to do the things that they want to do while they're working on the skills that we want to grow in them. I think sometimes we get stuck in this place where it's like this person, they're weak in this area. And so we don't give them opportunities that would stretch them in that area because they're not strong enough there. And as a result, they don't get stronger in that area. And so we don't give it to them in the future because we don't let them work those muscles, and so they don't get stronger in those muscles, and so we don't let them work those muscles. And it kind of, I don't know, it's cyclical. There's obviously balance in this, you know what I mean? Set yourself up to try things, be iterative, you know, give them some small opportunities, work with them, coach them, support them, stuff like that. But anyway, the beginning of the year is a good time that you can justify having these conversations and starting to lean into sort of developing your people again, reconnecting with them, building the trust with them, building the relationship with them, figuring out what they care about, and then also communicating what you care about, what the purpose of your team and where you're trying to go. So anyway, I just think that can be a beautiful thing. It takes some thought on your side, but it's not a massive undertaking. You don't need buy-in from up above really to do it. It can be a thing that you just sort of decide you want to do. And you say, so I just think it's a beautiful thing. That's all I got. What do you got?
So it's funny because we were in sync again, but
we are in sync.
We are. We could be a boy band. I think mine runs parallel to yours, though. So I was thinking about development as well, but I think for me, the number one thing that was beneficial for me even now, but was especially beneficial was something that a mentor shared with me. And I wish that I had learned it earlier in my career, although I don't know that I would have been ready for it then. But I think we think, to your point about starting fresh, and as leaders, we focus on the business and the team. And I think the one piece of advice or gift that I would give in this regard in terms of starting the year off right, to me would be don't forget about yourself. And what I mean by that is, I think the beginning of the year, I think having New Year's resolutions, I personally don't like, but I think it is important to spend some time thinking about, what do you want out of the year? Where are you trying to go? Your own self-development, because we put our team first usually as leaders, and a lot of the time we put ourselves last in this regard. And so I think that, you know, you're spot on in terms of looking at the team, and I love your focus on what are the things that they are good at. And as a leader, we generally get asked if we have any sort of assessment process as a leader. In my experience, it has always been focused on what are the things that you need to get better at. And I think that that's fair and important because, to your point, you need to work the muscles for them to get stronger. And I really like to think about, what are you really good at?
Yeah.
And where are your strengths? What do you love about your job? What do you want to do more of? Where do you want to develop those skills? Because it's far easier to develop stronger muscles that already exist than develop underdeveloped muscles that are not there, right? We get more that way. It's the strengths finders, approach to leadership.
Yeah.
But I think the other half of it for me is is really self-reflection. And so some of this I think is useful in terms of being able to say to your boss, because we all have a boss, even if you're the practice owner, you should be able to stand in front of a mirror and say to yourself, this is where I want to go and why I want to go there, right? But for those of us who have a boss, we have to do some sort of, this is where I want to go. Like, this is where I'm trying to go developmentally. And so thinking about that from a strengths perspective. And the other side of that, I don't think is the things that you necessarily are challenged by. I like to lean more into the self-awareness. And so I always ask myself, am I showing up for my team the way that I want to show up? And really let myself sit with that, because I'll tell you, most of the time when I really let myself sit with that, the answer is no. There's usually something that I could do better, or that I want to do better, and take the complimenting. Like, I went through a period where I really, really struggled with acknowledging my team because I was out there on the floor with them every day, and I forgot that they still need to hear it.
Yeah.
And they knew that I loved them, and I, brought them treats, and I did all of these things, and I gave them hugs, and they all, like, I knew that they knew that I loved them and cared about them. And I forgot that they still need to hear that in whatever form that looks like, right? And so when I really sat with that, and I thought, I was forced to sit with it because I got feedback on my review that the team didn't think that I cared about them. And I was really hurt by that.
Oh, yeah.
And I took myself to therapy and I cried about it. And then my therapist asked me some really valuable questions, and it got me to the place where I was really thinking, am I showing up for them the way that I want to? And when I really sat with that, my answer was no, I could do better. Like, because I really asked myself, have I told them how much I care about them and how much I appreciate the work that they're doing? And the answer was really no. And so I started asking myself, how could I do things differently? And so I think for me, part of it is take the time to reflect and then figure out what adjusting looks like for you. It's not when we have reviews and we get told that we're not good at something, or we think we get a low grade instead of the gold star. As overachievers, that's really hard for us. And so I like to try, in kindness to myself, to find the middle ground and say, what is something that I personally think I could do better at and that I would like to focus on? And then thinking about specifically, what are things that I could do that would build, to your point, build the trust and build the relationship with the team? Because having a little bit of self-awareness and being willing to be vulnerable with your boss and also with your team, and say, hey, just like you all, I've really thought about how I want to show up this year and what I want to work on. And this is what I want to work on to be a better leader for you this year. That goes, a little bit of that vulnerability goes a long way in terms of building trust and building resilience within the team. And for them to realize that I make mistakes too as their leader, and it's okay to have areas that you're improving on. And more than that, I want everybody to have areas, myself included, that I want to focus on and that I want to get better on. So I think for me, it's about taking that time to really kind of sit with it on your own personal level and think about, don't forget yourself. Don't forget to put yourself in that mix.
That's phenomenal. So I love that. I would rearrange. You should have gone first. You should have gone first. So okay. So I'm going to take this, and we're going to turn it into a 3-step program. Step 1 is your thing, which is 100%. Look at yourself. Where are you trying to go? What are you excited about? You always talk about, checking your values and sort of say, why do you do this job? Are you doing those things?
Yeah.
What do you think would make you good at your role? Are you exhibiting those behaviors? Look at yourself and decide what you want, and are you showing up? And I think having the strength to say, you know what, I've been carrying a lot in my personal life, and I'm maybe not showing up the way that I want. And then not being mean to yourself, but sort of saying, what adjustments can I make, or what am I going to do in the year going forward? So I think start with yourself. And then number 2, the recenter on purpose and relationships.
With the team.
And just do that. And then I'm going to add a 3rd step, which is step 3, is it's not to continue to do grand, big gestures throughout the year. After you do these things and you look at yourself and you look at your team and you try to sort of reconnect with them. It's settling into a pattern of consistency. And it's being there. It's
show up and do the one thing.
The best you can.
Yeah.
Yep. It's knowing what they were trying to do. And you don't have to change the world in a day, but bring it back up. Support them just day after day. It's the little things. It's patting them on the back. It's all the things that you wish you had done more of last year, just sort of settling in and doing them this year. And so that's it. So I think that by itself could be a really wonderful way for a lot of people to start the year.
Yeah, I love that.
Man, thanks for talking through this with me. I really appreciate it.
Happy New Year, Andy. Happy New Year.
New Year, Stephanie Goss.
It's going to be a good one. I'm excited about 2025.
It's going to be a big year, there's no doubt.
It's going to be wild no matter what.
No, yeah. So, anyway, big stuff coming. I will tell you, if you're like, oh, that was amazing, I would like one more thing to do with the new year. Just got to throw this in real fast. Maria Parita's Atomic Clinic Habits class is filling up. It's free to Uncharted members. You are going to meet with Maria in person, virtually in person for X number of sessions. I can't remember how many, but her program is amazing. Her program is all about figuring out the small things in your practice that drive huge results and making those small things into habits. And so if that's something you're interested in, it is, I've seen the syllabus laid out. We've talked through all the content. Buddy, she is fired up. She has got a great flipping program. And again, it's free to Uncharted members. If you're not a member, grab a membership. If you are a member, you need to register. I think registration closes the first week, January 7th, I think. I think it closes to all me that, but it's right about it. So when you're hearing this, you better be going in there and grabbing your spot.
It's going to be great. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the Uncharted Podcast. Thanks for joining us and spending your week with us. If you enjoyed this week's episode, head over to wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. It's the best way to let us know that you love listening. We'll see you next time.